Hello, you here to have a conversation?
Yeah,
All right, what's your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Dan, 24, he, him, his.
All right, Dan, do you disagree with any of the topics on the board?
Um, yes, and kind of. So for the communism greater than capitalism, I'd like to
Also,
talk
really
about
quick,
that.
Dan,
I'm
just
pretty
really quick
eager.
before you continue. Alina, you were basically dead on the money. It took us 20 minutes to get somebody to call in who does disagree with anything. 2138. You were almost dead on the money. That is crazy. Okay, Dan, go ahead. My apologies.
Yeah.
I
So
was gonna ask you.
I was gonna say, like, what would you say? Like, what would the communism definition you'd use as sort of like what would it look like in today's world, like going forward, look like
I define
compared to capitalism?
communism as the abolition of private property. Or, like, if I want to define it like in a really broad sense, I say a stateless, moneyless, classless society in which the means of production have been granted to the community as a whole.
And so, like, what I disagree with is, at least I'm a very, I'd say, like, practical person, where if I look at communism and capitalism, I see capitalism very much at its heart and core, like, greedy. It doesn't care about people. It causes suffering. And I look at communism and it can go, yeah, I see the benefits, and I can see how it's at its heart, it's a much better, more wholesome ideology. But when I look at the world today, I go, if I want for at least the bare minimum of people, like free healthcare, housing, food, I see that a better way, or not better, the path of least resistance is something like that would be through like a strong central government providing social services to people within a capitalist society. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Sorry, I was drinking. The problem is social services is just a way for capitalism to pass the buck of responsibility for paying people a livable wage onto other people in the working class. So when we sit here and we say, which I agree, currently we need social services, right? I don't mind that my taxes go up, but we have to remember, like, when we're paying for welfare and SNAP benefits and unemployment and all that through our taxes, it's because the businesses are not paying people a livable wage. Walmart is I think it's the number one employer of welfare and SNAP recipients in the country. Walmart's a grocery store. It pays its people so little that they have to go on welfare and SNAP benefits to afford to buy groceries. They work in a grocery store. This is a dystopia.
And they found that many of them, like many of their employees, obviously because they work there and I think they do get some kind of discount as an employee, they end up spending those right back at Walmart. So they double dip.
Yeah, like I see that, but I see, like, I feel like there can be policies that can be enacted and passed to force larger corporations to pay more of a fair share to providing these social services so that they aren't as passed on to like to workers. Like I can see that path. Like I know it seems like, with the political landscape that we're in, that it's not happening, but I can see a path forward where it could happen compared to a path where, we shut down in the whole capitalist society that we live in and establish a communist one.
Sorry, I'm chewing. I don't want to chew in the microphone. Okay. The big issue here, and at least the issue that I have at my core, is I view capitalism as a completely unethical system. Like, at its core, I think capitalism is unethical. The reason I believe this is because I think it is unethical to own private property, right? It's unethical, and I always use this as the example because I just think it really shows. I think it is unethical to come in, purchase a lake of fresh water, and then sell that water back to people. I think it's unethical to own land, right? I don't understand how we're justifying land ownership in the world, right? I think it's unethical to own private property, and thus will make capitalism always unethical. And the point of capitalism is to profit as much as you can from that private property. And the only way to maximize profits is to undervalue your labor.
So, what is like at this sort of conversation and this sort of statement? Like, what's the like end goal? Like, is it really like is the end goal to eventually sort of like establish a communist sort of society? Because, or is it, you know, just to convince, just to see how this could be established? Like, I'm just coming from a very practical perspective where I'm like, I see people suffering, and how do we get how do we get from this point to a point of a communist society and sort of economic landscape? That's where my biggest sort of like.
Here's the thing. The end goal is to have no private property. Is to not make it so somebody can hoard resources and sell you back those resources, especially if those resources are necessary for you to live, right? I believe we all have some level of like societal obligation to each other, and that would play into this fact. How do we get to communism? It's probably going to be a bit violent, right? Most revolutions are. Now, if every capitalist in America lays down and says, "Yeah, we're fine changing the system," then that's how we do it. But most likely what's going to happen is the working class is going to revolt against the owning class as they continue to be pushed, as they continue to we've seen this in every society ever, right? We've literally seen that the people in the ruling class tend to get overthrown if they push the lower class too far. And I genuinely think capitalism is going to hit that stage. Maybe not soon, but they're definitely hitting that stage.
I had another question about sort of communism, where like I understand how, you know, I've heard you talk about this before. You say like you only like produce for like what you would need based off your ability. How and where do like wants fit inside of communism? Because like sure, everyone needs housing and everyone deserves housing. I think that shouldn't be something that's withheld from people. But like some people want larger houses or they want nicer views. How do you
I don't care about what people
divvy
want.
that out?
I don't care about what people want. While there is still people that need to be liberated, I don't care about the wants of people that have already been liberated, right? I don't care about that. What I want and what I want to see happen under a communist framework is that the people who are suffering have their needs met. Once we've met everyone's needs, then we can start talking about wants. I don't care that little Jimmy wants a PlayStation when little Jonathan is a slave in the Congo because America wants more iPhones, right? I don't care that Steve from Ohio wants a larger house when Jeff in Latin America is suffering because the United States is installing dictators who are imprisoning his family, right? The wants mean nothing to me until liberation has already occurred.
And also like evaluating why the want. So like, you know, a lot of people, you know, you want the bigger house or the better view and all that because it's valued more. But in a society without money, like it's not really valued more. And it's the assumption that everybody wants a bigger house when like if you've ever lived in a house that you have that is bigger than what you need, that's just annoying, bro. It's way too much house to clean. It's way too much to keep up with, way too much to furnish and all that shit. Like not everybody wants the same things. And also in a society like that, like, you know, when we're talking about the commitment to the community, okay, well, maybe you can get the bigger house, but you have to, you know, contribute 30 hours a week to the community work versus like if you just get the one bedroom apartment, you have to contribute 6 hours a week. Some people would trade that off.
Personally, I think we need to demolish a lot of these larger houses and use that land better.
Some of them are ridiculous, bro.
Right? Like that land can be utilized much better in the society.
Can we talk about the houses that have like 9 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms? Like, why? Why do you need more bathrooms in a bedroom? Like maybe one extra one, like for a guest bath, but like seriously, some of these are ridiculous.
I also think we need more half baths, just because like if someone's taking a shower and I gotta piss, bro, I got piss.
I love a good half bath.
But yeah, I like if we're talking about like how housing will be distributed, right? Like let's say America wants to let's say we're moving more to a socialist and communist system, and we have to figure out how we do houses. Well, what I would do is, the way I would set the system up is I'd say every house sitting on land has 100-year lease, right? You get 100-year lease in this house. The land is not owned by you. The house is owned by you, but you can build a garden or put you're like, right. It's not gonna be like a HOA type thing. So 100-year lease. At the end of that lease, if you are still alive, you get first dibs in renewing this lease. Now, mind you, this lease is free. Like the lease doesn't cost you. But if you don't want to live there anymore, you can break it at any time. You can go, hey guys, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to go live somewhere else. And then you're good to go. You get a 100-year lease to your house. The house is yours. You never have to worry about it. At that 100 years, if you're still alive, you get first dibs at re-upping, or your next of kin gets first dibs at re-upping. So if you have children, your children get first dibs at re-upping that lease. If they all, now this would require that they not have a home. Like if they have a home and they all want to come to yours, they could. They can't get it as like a second home or anything like that, because we wouldn't be doing like, you get 2 homes that you can rent. If they say, no, I don't want it, then it goes into probably like a lottery system. And like whoever wins that lottery gets that home, and then they get the lease to that home for 100 years.
Isn't that kind of how it is in Israel? Like that no one actually owns the land?
I don't actually know.
Well, how like do you then distribute sort of like limited resources, like for like certain like types of housing, or just like any other sort of like limited resource in this sort of society, where like let's say everyone can't have it, or the majority of people that would want it or want it can't have it? How do you distribute something like that?
Yeah, sure. I don't think there are limited resources. That's my answer, right? Like let's take housing for instance. I don't think there's limited resources when it comes to housing. I just don't think we efficiently do housing, right? Like I said, we have how many large homes that one person or 2 people live in, right? When instead we can utilize that land to make much more housings, like, right? We should be doing stuff like that. How many older buildings that we can be converted into communal living spaces? When it comes to food sources, with the earth, we throw away on the planet, like planet wide, more food than is needed, right? And we can all the food waste that we have would feed everybody, right? Water. How many
duplicative businesses can we repurpose those buildings? Like how many mattress stores do we need?
Bro, I drive past 3 mattress firms like to get to fucking Target. How many Dollar Generals are there?
Yeah, but for in order to like get those into like livable spaces, or to just create more livable spaces, that takes like materials and man hours. And I mean, if there was a vast amount of these sort of resources available to us now, I mean, like the reason why certain costs of goods have gone, like building has gotten so expensive, is because labor is costing more, and there's limited amounts of sort of materials.
No, the materials are not limited. We have the material. It's the manpower that's limiting. And the reason why the manpower is limiting is because people don't want to pay to do this, right? So again, there is enough fresh water on the planet for everyone to drink, but there are still places that are water insecure because it costs manpower and money to get the infrastructure there. If we all volunteer I'm fine volunteering my time if it means fucking people get to drink, right? But right now, it's not cost effective. So if I have a company like Nestle, it's not cost effective for me to put water into a small town that needs it. That's not cost effective for me. So why would I do it? If it's going to cost me money. That's what capitalism brings up. We can see this when we look at the Flint water crisis. How long did Flint go without clean water? Because it wasn't cost effective to fix the water, so no private company was going to fucking do it. The way they were getting water is by people volunteering and bringing in water to the community. This is capitalism, like verbatim.
Yeah, and like I can see how, like at its heart and core, capitalism isn't necessarily. I consider it like almost evil, but you know I can, like I said, like I can also see in a world where we have a strong central government, we can encourage and enforce companies to sort of provide those services, or they can be, you know, federally run, or
Except the issue
I can
is
see how we can solve
when
all
it
of these
comes to,
problems within the capitalist society.
but the
or
issue is as long as corporatism and crony capitalism exist, which I believe they will always exist under a capitalist model, the government can be paid for, can be bought out. The government can be paid away. We see this when it comes to like the railroad industry, right? The railroad industry there is the ability to have much safer, faster, and cleaner rail travel. You know why? Because multiple other countries have this. The reason the US doesn't have it is because the rail industry has has used lobbying to make it so that they can keep things basically exactly the same because they make more money as it is now. They don't want a light rail, even though the technology for light rails exists and has been utilized very effectively in other countries. They don't want this because it would affect their bottom line.
Yeah, but those countries that have all of these, like universal health care, public transportation, all that, those are also capitalist countries with capitalist economies.
I would just say these countries tend to have more socialist tendencies and communist tendencies, and that's going to be the big difference, whereas the United States doesn't. But at the end of the day, like even if we affect all of this, it still won't stop my issue with capitalism at its core, which is just the ownership of private property I view to be unethical.
Yeah, and like I don't necessarily like agree or disagree. I don't necessarily like disagree with that, but like I just look at the world and I'm trying to look at it like a practical standpoint of, let's try to get to the place of the most people have their needs met, and I just sort of think, it's capitalism and its core sucks, but I'd rather have. I feel like the easiest way to get it to a point where no one's suffering, no one's homeless, people are fed and have free health care is, just working with what we have.
Yeah, I just don't believe we need to work within what we have. I think we can push for better. Go ahead, Alina.
Oh, I'm saying.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I mean, I was thinking about saying something, but that was wild. It's like you read my mind. I'm just here.
Yeah. I guess that's all I had to say.
All right, no problem. Thanks for calling in.
Is that our best op for the day? Like, I don't think that was much of an op, y'all. I want someone to come and explain the capitalisms to me.
We're waiting.